Good morning, all. I welcome all of you to the first class of periodontics, that is immunity and inflammation. Myself, I'm Dr. Senni Thomas Parikal, and I'm a professor in Department of Periodontics. And we are into a new teaching learning mechanism. Uh, we know that we are undergoing in a very difficult time due to the pandemic corona, and to make use of this time at home, we are introducing a new virtual platform so that this time can be spent effectively and efficiently with, learning. So we are also, catching up with time and racing to the occasion and coming up with a new model of education. All right. Now, today, the topic of the day is immunity and inflammation. It is a very difficult topic. We understand that this is not the first class to be taken, but yet we have decided to take it first class because you will have ample time to revise. This topic is a very volatile topic, and better understanding regarding the basics of inflammation and immunity helps you to understand the basics of pathophysiology of periodontal disease, and therein thereafter the treatment you are going to learn in periodontics. So this is a class which starting from the brushing up of your normal physiology goes to the normal inflammation and immunity. Then we will move on to the pathophysiology of periodontal disease. So this is the sequelae of classes, or I would say is the learning curve we are planning to give you. Now, basically, when I finished I was doing my undergraduation, we were a little reluctant to read this topic because this is so complicated topic, and if you read it from the textbook, Keransa, it is very difficult to understand. Still, I would like to make as simple as this, and more, I'll epitomize the entire process of inflammation, and I would like to picturize this inflammation process like a war between our defense mechanism and the microbes, the periodontal pathogens. As we all know, we are, from a threat of the neighboring country. So let us picturize, for a better understanding of this topic, let us picturize this inflammation and immunity on in a regard on a basis of a war between India and China. So that will give you a better understanding regarding the topic. Hope you will agree with me. All right? Okay. Welcome back. Now, before moving to the slide-by-slide presentation of the entire immunity, I would like to brief you regarding uh, uh, basics of immunity. I would like to compare this as a real-time war between China and India. Currently, we are facing threats in the border, isn't it so? So I would like to compare the two type of immunity, like innate immunity is there, specific immunity is there. So let us understand what innate immunity does for our body. Like in a country of in India, we have along the borders, we have natural protections like big mountains, like Great Himalayas, and rivers like Gilwan, and we have been constantly, that we have borders of sea, isn't it so? And likewise, our body do have certain protective mechanism stopping the microorganism from entering into our body. Say, for example, our tears of our eyes do have antibodies, it have antibacterial effect. The ear bags is a protective mechanism. The mucous membrane and the mucus which is producing inside our oral cavity and the nasal cavity. The cilia of upper respiratory tract, the chemical protections like high pH in the stomach, all these forms a barrier, the first line of defense when a microorganism enter into our body. So this can be compared with the natural protective barriers we do have in our country, like Himalayas, rivers, well protected sea. Invaders cannot easily come through this way. Along with that, we have fences, natural. I mean, we are fenced in the line of control. These all are, almost similar. It can be compared to the innate immunity. Now let us see what specific immunity is. Well, I would like to explain the specific immunity like this. India do have a very strong army. Likewise, the neutrophils play a role, the white blood cells plays a role of an army here. In white blood cells, there are different team players. For example, you have neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, monocytes, macrophages are there, natural killer cells are there, and dendritic cells are there. I will explain you the function of each cell type or each person in the army in the coming lecture. Now let us understand one thing now. Neutrophil is the first line of defense. So generally the neutrophil will be inside the vasculature, within the lumen of vasculature. But 4 to 5% of neutrophil moves out of the vasculature, and they do have a surveillance duty along the borders. Just like the couple of weeks back, our Colonel Santosh, who have taken a few soldiers and had a surveillance in the fourth mountain terrain of line of control. He found that the army, the China army has invaded and kept a post inside our country. So he retaliated, or the team has retaliated for that, and they had a real manhandling type of good that they have not used the arms and ammunitions or gun, but they both fight each other, and we had almost a big casualty of 20 soldiers from the Indian side. Likewise, neutrophil generally will be there inside the blood vessels. They move out of, a few percentage of neutrophil move out and have a surveillance inside the gingival sulcus. Once they recognize the presence of bacteria, they will have a second messengers or communication, wireless communication to the base camp, and more neutrophil will be lining up to the borders. So this is one example I would compare with the current scenario. Okay, I would like to introduce another cell type in the lineage of WBC, that is Langerhans cells and histiocytes. Langerhans cells are cells which is present between the dermal layers of the epithelium, and histiocytes we can see in the connective tissue. Both is having almost similar function. These histiocytes are strategically placed near the blood vessels or the portal entry of this microorganism. Here, when the microorganism enters into our premises, these cells will extend their pseudopodia, that is extent of cytoplasm, around that microorganism and engulf that microorganism into the cytoplasm of these cells. Then inside the cytoplasm, it is getting processed, and this one piece or a fragment of this will be taken into the base camp, that is to the lymph nodes, and present this to T lymphocytes by antigen presenting cells. So what basically it does is it sensitizes the presence of the foreign army. They cut off a piece of pistol or a piece of uniform and take this into the base camp and show them this is the uniform the person or the enemy was wearing and sensitize our defense mechanism to work out strategies for the defense. So this is the precise work done by histiocytes and Langerhans cells in our body. Well, I would like to introduce another person in our, or another team player in the armed force, that is mast cells. Now let us see what mast cells does. Mast cells I would compare with land mines. You must be aware that the mines are kept inside, or inside the ground we have the mines are being kept, and when a soldier stamp on it, or when a vehicle runs over it, it explodes. What happens if it explodes? It releases histamine and other chemical mediators of inflammation. And when the mines are getting exploded, we will have an idea that the enemy is inside our country. Likewise, these mast cells are very strategically placed along the borders of the blood vessels, along the portal entries of gingival sulcus. And when the bacteria or microbes enter into the body, the mast cell sense it, and it tends to explode and release histamine and other chemical mediators of inflammation, and it escalate, it gives a message to the base camp that some microorganism has entered, some enemy has entered into the body. So this is the role of. Now, having introduced different people in the army, two terminologies I purposefully left out to avoid confusion that I thought I'll discuss in the last. What is PMN? That is polymorphonuclear lymphocytes. So that is inside the army itself. That is a category of different persons. Say for example, neutrophil, basophil, eosinophil, and mast cells. They are a special category which have granules in the cytoplasm. So these polymorphonuclei by itself, it is having multiple multi-shaped nucleus. That is why it is called polymorphonuclear lymphocytes. And these cell types do have granules inside the cytoplasm. So they are called granulocytes. So this I would compare with army people who is having granules or granites within their hands. Though these people are goes in the first line of defense, they carry these granites inside the cytoplasm. So that is regarding the granulocytes. Now imagine if the first line of defense could not take care of the situation, they will inform the second line of defense, that is T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Now what is the role of T lymphocytes? As I mentioned earlier, now we have an information regarding the enemy country. They have taken a piece of uniform to the lymph nodes, and we are sensitized with their strategies and their mode of entry. We have information regarding that. So what T cells do is, T cells call the help of T helper lymphocytes, and there will be a colony expansion of T helper lymphocytes, namely CD4 category, that is cluster of differentiation. We will come to that later. So when the T cells gets that information, it expands its colony by adding more people into the army, recruit more people into their group, and they will be starting ready for fighting. And one more type of T cells are cytotoxic T cells, CD8, cluster of differentiation CD8 type of cells, which is highly containing highly cytolethal component inside it, and they are also prepared for fighting. So this is the role of T lymphocyte. And what does B lymphocytes do? B lymphocytes, when they are sensitized with messages from the cytokines or the wireless message when they receive from the second mediators of inflammation, namely cytokines, interleukins, what they do, they equip their self and produce more, they convert into plasma cells and produce more antibodies. This antibody will get ready to fight against these invaders. This is how the specific immunity works. Well, one cell type which I fails to mention is natural killer cells. What is the role of natural killer cells? I would compare this natural killer cell as a person who's having a machine gun. He shoots at everybody who they see in the nearby vicinity. Likewise, natural killer cells are very effective against viruses. If they suspect that the normal cells or our own body cells, if it is um, infected with the viruses, it kills us. Likewise, it is non-specific. That is why I said it fires on everybody or every army person it sees in and around the natural killer cells. Likewise, the one more speciality of natural killer cells is when it identify HLA complex, that is the our own uniform, the cells of the army persons of our own country, it stops firing. So that is one property of natural killer cells. So we will explain the specific function of natural killer cells with the slides. So hope this had given a small idea regarding or a picturization of how the microbes is getting invaded, how the line of defense we are following as a first line of defense, second line of defense, and with this understanding, we go about further class. Well, having said regarding different army persons or defense cells, now I would like to discuss few defense strategies which is employed by our body. Immediately after an injury, what happens is there will be an immediate vasoconstriction to prevent the blood loss and to induce the clotting mechanism. There will be a vasoconstriction, and followed by there will be a vasodilatation. It is so happened that in the couple of weeks back when China had attacked India, there was a river which runs from, geographically it starts from China, goes through the border and comes to India. So what they have done is before the attack they have made a check dam and reduce the water inside, which is flowing in the Gilwan River. And immediately after attack, when there was a severe casualty for Indian Army, what they have done is they have opened up the check dam and there was a big gush of water which flowed in the Gilwan River. And we have lost some of the soldiers in the ice cold water. So this is one strategy they have adopted. Likewise, our body is also having certain strategies where you have a transient vasoconstriction followed by a vasodilatation. So during the vasodilatation, when 15% of serum contain antibodies, and the neutrophils also will escape through the intercellular spaces of the vascular channel and comes to the area of attack. So here the enemy or the microbes will get diluted in the big gush of proteins, antibodies, and when the volume of the serum fluid with proteins are more, or when edema sets in, the microorganism get diluted and it can be easily destroyed. So this is one strategy which is adopted by our body. Well, now to conclude with, we have discussed regarding various types of immunity, that is innate immunity and specific immunity. And we have also discussed regarding different personals who are employed to take care of this situation, like neutrophil, basophil, eosinophils, your natural killer cells, monocytes, dendritic cells, Langerhans cells, histiocytes, and if these people of first line of defense, if they cannot take care of the situation, yeah, it will switch over to the second line of defense, which is taken care by T lymphocyte, specifically T helper lymphocytes by colony proliferation, and T cytotoxic lymphocytes, so T CD8 type of lymphocytes, and also a lineage of B lymphocytes. By B lymphocytes will convert to itself by plasma cells and produce n number of antigens. So with this picture, hope you got an idea regarding the basics of immunity, and we will deal this specifically and in detail in the PPT presentation. So this class I have demonstrated, recorded previously because you to have an idea regarding the basics of inflammation, and with the basic idea, when you attend the class, probably you'll have a better understanding regarding the subject. Hope you can crack the nut of inflammation and immunity in the coming up class. We will join you on this Wednesday, 8:30. Kindly all be present and be attentive so that it will be useful for your basics of periodontics. Thank you.